Let me check if you're live. Okay, yes, I think we're live. So, hi everyone, Jai Hind, good evening, namaskar. So, we have in this episode another child prodigy, Shalom Keshet. He's in grade 8. He's being mentored by the none other than Sunita Williams. And at this age, being in grade 8, he has written 4 books. He's just launched his 4th book, and we'll be talking about that book and all the other 3 books in detail in this particular session. We'll also be talking about his association with Miss Williams, and maybe there might be certain things that he knows that he can tell us, because the whole world is asking one question: when is she going to return back to Earth? And of course, he's in Vedantu Olympiad School level 7, and the kind of ideas that he tells in some of the problems, in fact in all the problems, is amazing. The depth that he has in mathematics is amazing to see. This is very important because every now and then I get to hear this very common problem by a lot of students who are in grade 9, 10th, 11th, 12th. Ki, sir, how do we manage everything, right? And we have someone who's in grade 8, written books, managing everything. Again, I think this is something that we all can learn from him. And of course, last but not the least, we'll also be talking about his knowledge. I mean, we will be testing his knowledge about on the space station, right? So we'll see how much he knows about the space station, how does it build and everything. So welcome, Shalom. How do you feel, first of all?
It feels very like different. Like I'm feeling a bit nervous as well, but also a bit excited because it's actually very good to be here. So yes.
Yeah, so nervous is not the kind of word I was looking forward to, because the kind of problems, the kind of uh, ideas that you share in the class in the level 7 batch is amazing. I mean, nervous is just not the word I can imagine from you. But first of all, Shalom, congratulations for the 4th book that you've launched. And this is your 4th book, and this book he is dedicated to none other than Miss Williams, who is his mentor also. We will talk about Sunita Williams, in a bit, but let us try to start. I mean, try to understand, how did you start? What was the motivation? Of course, your father is from IIT, so of course, how much help did he give you regarding this? And how did this journey as the author start? How did the idea come to your mind?
Okay, sir. So first of all, I would like to introduce myself. Hello, everyone. I'm Shalom Keshet, and of course, first I would like to thank Abhay sir for giving me the opportunity to speak about my book. It's really an honor. So yeah, so I can tell you about my story now. So
Yes.
yeah, so I began writing Herman Potočnik's Space Odyssey, which is the book, and I began writing it in 2020 when I was around 8 years old, actually, and I was studying in grade 4, around grade 4. But yeah, so at the time, I'd already written 2 books, but I mainly just wrote the other ones, which were just based on fiction, and I just wrote them because it was fun for me, and I had developed a passion for it too. So but when I started writing Herman Potočnik's Space Odyssey, I actually didn't know much about maths and physics. So, like, why did I start writing it? So, you have to go all the way back to when I was only 6 years old. So, as a child, I was very interested in space and all space related things. And I wanted to become an astronaut, actually. So, and I wasn't very mature at the time because I was very young, so I had very big dreams. And oftentimes not being very mature can actually be an advantage, and it can actually pay off sometimes because it gives you more confidence. It makes you more assertive about the things that you want to become, the things you aspire to be. So Yeah, and I love space so much actually that I actually wanted to reach out to Sunita Williams, and because at the time the news came that she had been selected for another space mission just a couple of days back. So with the help of my parents, I reached out to her through an email. And of course, my parents were not expecting her to reply, but it was kind of like a miracle because after a couple of months, she actually responded to me. And of course, my parents immediately rushed to me to tell me about it. They're very excited. And yeah, so she gave me very good advice. And she told me that if I wanted to become an astronaut, I needed to be excelling in maths, science, technology, and I have to learn to be more mature and overcome difficult situations too. And that day was almost like I could say that it is the happiest day of my life actually.
Amazing. I can imagine. I mean, the email from none other than Miss Williams. I mean, you would be on the top of the world. I can imagine. I mean, it is a dream to be associated with her in some way or the other. Okay,
Yeah.
amazing.
And
And
this was actually the first time I connected with her, obviously. So, and her letter to me, it became like a bit of a good luck charm for me. So, and on the other hand, of course, because I was so young, it was also kind of overwhelming because, like,
hmm,
for a child like me, like maths and science were very big words, right? It's the kind of thing some genius or intellectual person would talk about, and those two things were very kind of intimidating for me. So I even doubted myself a little bit because I didn't expect that I was going to be able to achieve such a big feats. So yeah, and in the same year, actually, Google honored me for my creativity, and later on, even my artwork was exhibited at NASA. And when I was around 8 years old, I started writing stories in school when I got bored. In the meantime, to pass the time to entertain myself, and actually, it became sort of like a hobby for me. And eventually, I finished writing my first story, which I named "The Lost Boy." And I was very proud of it, of course, and I wanted to publish it actually. So, and the next year I published it as my first book, right? So I even got it published in Slovenia too. And that same year, Suni also recommended me to write a book about Herman Potočnik, who was a Slovenian astrophysicist, which is yeah, so the book that we are talking about today. So yeah, and I began writing this book, but honestly it was very hard for me to follow because I was very inexperienced actually in the field of maths and science. I wasn't really good at it, so this motivated me a bit to start learning, developing myself a little, learning more advanced concepts of maths, advanced as in like I was very young, so like a bit more higher grade stuff, but and in physics as well. But I felt a little bit kind of bombarded as well because so much information was there, and the only thing that I had going for me was that I had the ability to understand the concepts very well in the depths, but only it would have taken a very long time. And you could say that even though officially I started writing Herman Potočnik's Space Odyssey in 2020, it's more accurate to say that I began last year, actually, in
oh, so
2020.
you started writing this book 5 years back, is
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
yeah, but
No.
of course it was a very slow process. So it would be more accurate to say that I began in only last year because that was the year that I actually started picking up more pace with writing. Before that, I had only written only 20 pages in the span of 5 years. You could imagine that I was very like I had to learn concepts and then even understand that further. Then I would write that in my own way. To share my ideas. So, and it might be hard to believe, but even I actually covered all topics of maths from grade 7 to 12 only in last year's summer vacation, just from NCRT and YouTube. And I can tell you that confidently that in 1 month is you can complete all the concepts of non-Olympiad mathematics. It's really not that hard. You only need 1 month of concentration, dedication.
Okay,
You
so
don't.
let me rephrase this.
Yeah.
So Shalom is claiming that the maths concept from grade 7 to grade 12 he did in 1 month, right?
Yes.
And of course, I totally believe in you, Shalom. Of course, if you have the caliber, you have that kind of thinking ability, you should be able to, and you can. Perfect. And this is amazing. 7th to 12th, you did in grade 7th summer vacation. All the math, integration, differential calculus, everything you completed NCRT part. And of
Yes.
course, it is pretty much visible because and in some of the problems that I share in level 7 batch, I mean the kind of ideas which are beyond, of course, your grade, but also you sometimes apply calculus in some of the problems, and I mean this surprises me somehow. Being in grade 8, doing this kind of problem with a concept like calculus, this is amazing. But again, how much, if you could tell, I mean, this is of course going to inspire a lot of students. Just tell about the time that you spent per day. I mean, rough idea about the time, uh, number of hours you put in per day in the last summer vacations.
Yeah. So I would say around 4 to 5 hours.
4 to 5 hours per day, and
Yes.
you were able to complete all the NCRT.
And yeah, of course, it was very hard in the beginning because it was
Hmm.
really hard to understand the concepts.
Hmm.
But the thing is that the schools kind of over exaggerate many topics. They extend it for a long period of time. But if you understand the basic idea of what you are trying to learn, then you'll be able to learn it properly and
So, what's your
better.
favorite topic in mathematics?
I'd say algebra.
Okay, which part?
Like I can't really say because I really like most of the things in maths. I'd say like modular arithmetic, but that doesn't come under like non-Olympiad. But yeah, so yeah, so if you study properly and systematically, then you will be able to understand because you have
Okay,
to put in the effort.
amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so Shalom, walk us through the fourth book. What all is there in the fourth book? I mean, as you mentioned, it took you 5 years. I mean, most of the part was covered in the last 1 year when you
Yes.
learned about the basic fundamentals of mathematics, I would say. But what is the fourth book all about?
Yeah, so because of the way I wrote it, I've actually divided it into 3 or 4 parts. Beginning it with the beginner section where people who are not very experienced in physics and all that, they can understand the concepts mostly about space science, like the basic stuff like stabilizing, drag, thrust, all the basic concepts. And then it goes to intermediate level, then advanced for people who have understood all the concepts. And yeah, so, and of course, because it's also a tribute to the legacy of Herman Potočnik as well. He was a major part of it because it inspired me a lot to write the book. So, and he's actually one of the founding fathers of astronautics. So yes.
So, is it more about mathematics, the science behind some of the technologies, or I mean, what is the core concept?
Well, yeah. So the main motto of the book is that it would teach you rocket science a lot, and of course, later on, to understand rocket science, you have to understand basic concepts of physics as well. So it will walk you through that, and even there's a little bit of mathematics involved as well because you can't have physics without maths, of course.
Amazing,
So
amazing.
yeah,
So, how big is the book?
it's around 181 pages.
Amazing. And I mean, what would be the what is your target audience? I mean, what audience are you? What would you like the most? I mean, which kind of audience would
Well, I would
read the book?
say the kind of audience who are enthusiastic about space, they want to learn more about uh, basically the behind the scenes of how things work, like space stations and
But
all.
again, someone who doesn't know basic calculus differential, I mean, will he be able to?
Yeah, of course, because it will walk you through it, basically.
Okay,
Um, of course, some improvement might be needed, but because, of course, I might not be a perfect person, of course, but I try my best.
amazing, amazing. Super. Also, Shalom, can you tell me or tell us about your association with Williams? Of course, you mentioned it before, but walk us through how. I mean, so you wrote a mail to her, she replied back, and how did it start? And one question that everyone has been asking about her return from the space. when is it going to happen? I mean, if you have any idea about that, you can probably share.
Yeah, so basically, she has been a major part of my life. She's mentored me for a long time, and she
So when
basically
did
is,
the association start? Which year?
well, of course, like around when I started my first book, 2 years before that, around that, because I was really enthusiastic about becoming an astronaut, and I had
Okay,
very
so
big
this
ambitions.
would be with what year? 2020.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Okay, around 2020. Perfect. Okay, and how did it go forward?
Yeah, so we talked from time to time. She helped me a lot. She guided me through my journey as well. Uh, and to be honest, without her, I wouldn't be able to reach here right now. So I'm
That
very
is true. Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
I'm very
sometimes you need a big motivator in your life, and of course, you got one. Okay, and okay, any idea about when would she return from space? What is
uh
happening behind the scenes? I mean, where we are in bringing her back?
yeah. So of course it got delayed. It would have been February, but it got extended. It would be around the last month, the last of week of March and first week of April, around that time.
Oh, March, April.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Okay, and it will be facilitated by what, NASA or SpaceX?
SpaceX, yeah,
Okay,
SpaceX. They would
SpaceX.
be, yeah, they have a Crew 10 mission who are going to go and, get them.
Amazing, amazing, super. And of course, I'm very sure after return, you would want to get in touch with her and ask her about
Of
her.
course, yeah.
Amazing. Okay, about your math and physics journey, right? So you've already mentioned that summer, last summer vacation, you completed the entire mathematics from 12th
Yeah.
7 to 12th class, and of course that is pretty visible in the kind of ideas that you share in the class. And could you just walk us through how did it start? How did the interest generate? And currently you're in level 7. I think you were also in Achievers
Yeah,
batch
yes,
last year.
yes. Yeah,
So just walk us through the journey, mathematics and physics journey that
yeah.
you.
So, this the same as I said, I usually begin with learning the basic topics, and after that, the advanced topics actually become a little bit more easy. So, before that, in the previous year, I was learning a lot about basic mathematics, like just normal stuff that you would learn before around in grade 6. I was struggling with that actually. You won't
Oh,
believe it. I was
um,
actually struggling with it, but
that is hard to believe.
yeah, I know, but yeah, but after that I started becoming more dedicated to it, and as I said, after a long period of time, I actually finally start grasping the knowledge in a better way. And of course, after the summer vacations, I joined Vedantu Olympiad school as well, and that also helped me a lot, and it helped me develop my concepts even further, and it was very useful for me for learning very advanced concepts like Olympiads and for JEE, all that. And even for physics, it's kind of the same thing. And to be honest, in my opinion, for physics, if you're just doing mechanics, then if you grasp motion, forces, energy, these are the three main things, then I think you'll be able to do the further concepts even easier. And in the beginning, actually, we're just solving projectile motion, previous year's question from GE, and yeah, a lot of projectile motion, like a lot of it. And after that itself, then I started doing the other ones, and I spent a lot of time on projectile motion because it was very useful for me. It taught me a lot of things, and once you go from there, then you have work, power, energy, and after that, of course, work, power, energy is also another thing that you have to handle. You have to understand how energy and that works. But yeah, and after that, it kind of is like you get the flow of it, and you will understand even higher concepts, even the concepts which you think are extremely advanced, like for example, theory of relativity. Many people say that it's very a hard concept, but it's actually not very hard. You wouldn't believe it, but the theory of relativity comes under two parts: special and general relativity. Special relativity is actually very easy to understand if you understand basic concepts. It's only the general relativity which it's a bit more difficult, but if you understand the concepts, you'll be able to understand everything.
I mean, I'm stumped. I've no words. calling the theory of relativity easy. I mean, I would not find a lot of people who
Yeah,
saying that, but
it's always been portrayed as a very hard part of physics, but it's actually not very hard.
amazing, amazing. We need people like you, Shalom, to so that you're able to inspire a lot of other students, fellow beings, and of course, you're going to go a long way. Okay, so talking about physics, Shalom, any particular set of books that you've been following to understand the basic concepts?
Well, usually I've just been using online resources, right, for learning the concepts. But other than that, for solving questions like Etsy Verma is there, Physics Galaxy, and of course we have just the normal grade 11th NCRT of that. And that's pretty much it. But if you want to go more in depth, you could do other books as well. Of course, all books are good. I'm not saying that you should prefer these books itself, but obviously different people have different ways of learning. It's just for me that I found these are easier for me to understand.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so Shalom, before we move on to the space station part, what are your aspirations? What do you want to be, let's say, 10 years down the line, if you thought about it?
Well, I'm really interested in science and maths. Of course, I wanted to become an astronaut, and I still do. Of course, as I said when I was younger, and I still do have the same aspirations, and I'm going to work hard to achieve it. So,
Amazing. Super. All right. So of course, you seem to be very much interested in space station, right? So walk us through anything that you know about space station, right? So if there's a person who doesn't know a thing about space station, how does it work? What is the science behind it? And make it as simple as you can, right? So
yeah,
that someone maybe studying in grade 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, maybe 11th and 12th also, right? So he gets interested in probably research the kind of thing that you are doing, and yeah, so
yeah.
walk us
So,
through it from the very
yes.
basics.
So, basically, space stations are divided into different parts. Each part is just separately sent to the space station and it is attached. That's pretty much how the space station is built. That's pretty much it. Each part itself has different functions. Like it's kind of like a house. You have different places to go. They all have different functions, and there's different places for research and stuff. Many people think that all space stations always create some sort of gravity in them. It's not really true. That's only done when necessary. But basically, they have lots of rotational stuff, which basically have a lot of inertia, so that the gravity is basically negated by it, and because of that, the gravitational force is still going to be there. Because yeah, and the way the space stations actually stay in orbit is they have different orbits are at different levels. The one that space stations are in is called LEO. It's short for low Earth orbit. So, and of course, they revolve around that. They have a certain speed at which they revolve. If they are a little bit, if they're too high from the LEO, then they might exit the orbit. If they're too close, then they might go down. Of course, you cannot maintain perfect balance. So occasionally they do boosts to go them, make them go up a little, and yeah, uh, that's pretty much it.
Okay, so as far as my knowledge goes, there are currently two space stations in the space.
Yeah,
So one is ISS and one is by China,
China,
right?
yes.
So any idea about how many more space stations are going to get launched? Maybe are there any plans for India to launch a space station in space?
Yeah.
And
Basically, the ISS, it said that it might wear out. Some of its parts might wear out by 2030 or maybe more than that. So there might be another space station made. I'm not sure about India specifically, but basically, the International Space Station is for, it's like a group of countries. They can go there. So, yeah. And they might make another space station, but I'm not really sure about it. Of course, China is still going to keep developing their space station. It's more in the early stages than the ISS, but the parts of the ISS are becoming more rusty, like a little bit more old, so they might replace those parts. So yeah, yeah.
okay, so one last question before we end the session, Shalom. Again, this is on Sunita Williams. So what really happened? She went to ISS. I think it was a 2 week, maybe a 1 week journey, return journey. And I mean, what exactly happened? If you could t- tell us about it.
Yeah, so they were going by the Boeing rockets, right? And actually, what happened is that proper surveillance was not done, and the fuel was actually not properly kept. So it started leaking. So when they reached the space station, people say they're stuck, but it's not really true. They're not really stuck. They're still doing research. That's the whole reason why they were sent to the space station. The only reason why it's being delayed is because, well, SpaceX, it's on them that when they will. When their crew would launch, of course they have to make adjustments to make sure that uh, they properly return them and retrieve them back to Earth. So that's the only reason why it's being held for so long. It's being delayed from February to uh, around March, April. So yeah.
Okay, amazing. So it was amazing having you, Shalom, and of course, I'm sure this session is going to inspire a lot of students. I mean, okay, one more thing. I think one of the students asked a question earlier. Being in grade 8, this is your fourth book. You've done a lot of math. You've studied, a lot of basic physics that maybe even 11th and 12th grader would not know. How do you manage everything? Do you go to school? And how do you manage everything with school?
So basically, school is kind of like you just have to do stuff from school. It's just a separate thing. When I get time, I just learn more physics. I solve questions. It's basically like you develop a bit of a good habit, right? You have a good habit for solving questions and you feel good about it. So if you develop a passion for physics and or math, even for any subject, in fact, then you can do it. Whatever you want, you can do it. No one can stop you.
Amazing. Amazing. That is really going to inspire a lot of students, your juniors, is in fact your seniors as well. And thank you, Shalom, so much for this
Thank you,
session.
sir.
And by the way, I have shared, and I don't think it has been shared, but my team is going to share all the books of Shalom, which is written in the description by tomorrow. And if you're interested, you can know about these books and also purchase them from Amazon. Is the fourth book has been launched in India? The hardcover?
No, but I plan on doing it. You can get the book from Amazon. You can get it from Amazon.in. You can get it from Amazon.com or from the Canada website of Amazon. But yeah, there's even a version with no color for the images, so it's more cheap. It's much more cheap. So for people who want a cheaper version, that's there. And of course, I've made it as low as I can for people because the main motive of me writing this book is for people to become more inspired and that they can learn more concepts of space more freely, So yes.
Amazing. Superb, Shalom. And may you never stop. May you keep on inspiring a lot of students. And
Thank
I
you,
mean,
sir.
we're all looking forward. I mean, just remember the name, everyone, Shalom Keshet, and we're going to see him a lot in the coming times. So, all the best, Shalom, in whatever you do. I'm
Thank you,
sure
sir.
it is going to bring glory to your parents, to you, and whoever you're working for. And all the best. Keep inspiring, and yeah, keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
All right, guys. Thank you, everyone, for this session, and